Hi, everybody. Welcome to the HomeGirls podcast. I'm Shanna O'Brien, the redheaded realtor.
I'm Andy Costello with Couve Living, and we are here today to talk about sellers.
And we have been in our area historically for the last, it's been over a year that it's been considered really heavily a seller's market. But that all changes kind of as we start slipping down into the holidays. It's a very seasonal business, real estate is.
Yeah, it can be for people that are just kind of casually looking into the market. In addition to interest rates going up, we're starting to see a little bit of pressure on house prices because as interest rates go up, buyers want to keep their monthly payment about the same. So prices will start coming down a little bit so that buyers can still afford the same payments.
Yeah, and most people have historically wanted to sell in the spring. So even right now, if you're thinking about selling your home, you're probably thinking or hearing advice saying, just hold off, wait till the spring. That's when the market picks up. And so we're here to just talk about the notion of maybe selling in the off season when nobody else is trying to sell. There are some advantages to that.
Yeah, so there was a study done by the National Association of Realtors, and 55% of buyers buy a house, whatever the season, regardless of the season, because they need a house.
Yeah, they buy a house when it's time for them to buy a house, and it's not tied to, it was spring, so we bought a house.
Right, it's either job relocated or they, had a baby or, somebody passed away and they need to sell the house, or move into another house. So people will buy when they need a house, not because, like you said, the weather's great or school's out of session or something like that.
And that's one of the things that makes your home being available in the off season a little bit more attractive for you, is that during the summer you get these families that's their like weekend activity is let's go drive around and go to open houses because we think we might move in a couple years. If you've got somebody in our area, and it's hard to say this right now because our weather is like so incredible, but it's not normal. When you have somebody that's out looking at houses in October and November and December in our weather that we would usually have right now, they're doing it for a reason. They need to find a house. So you definitely will weed out some of those looky-loos by being out of the peak season.
Right. And one of the things you need to consider when we're not in a, first day on the market, 24 hours, you've got 10 offers situation, is to price your house right the first time.
Yes.
So make sure you're pricing your house aggressively. Don't necessarily think, well, we're going to list it $15,000 over what we think it's really worth, and then we'll just drop the price in a week or two if nobody's made us an offer. You really need to think about what your pricing strategy is, and we certainly can help you with that.
Absolutely.
And so make sure that you're putting your house on the market at the right price so that you can get those serious buyers interested right when your house goes on the market.
Yeah, I just had this conversation with a seller, and basically what I said is you get one chance to make a first impression. So day one, the price should be right, the photos should look good, the house should be clean, and because the people that are looking for a house, that are actively looking for a house because they need to buy a house, they're on Zillow, they're on Trulia, they're on Redfin every day, and they see a house as soon as it comes on the market. And if they see your house at a poor price point, doesn't photograph well, just doesn't look appealing, they're not coming back to it to look at it again later after you've tweaked it. So it's really important. Let's just do it right the first time and get the thing sold.
Right. And in alignment with what you were just saying, making sure you do it right is make sure the house is clean.
Yes, a couple of tips for selling. Yes.
Yes. So make sure that the house is clean, not only for the photos, but when you have people coming and looking at the house, and especially as we're getting into fall and our days are getting shorter, make sure your house is light and bright. So the curtains are open, blinds are pulled up, so that people get a really good sense of the space in your home.
Lights on. If you have a showing, if you're leaving the house because you have a showing coming in, turn all the lights on as you leave. Don't worry about the extra 22 cents in electricity that's going to cost. You can turn them off when you get back home.
Right. And the same thing with the cleanup is making sure the yard looks good. Just because things aren't growing as quickly and they might look dead or dormant, you still need to keep stuff trimmed back and leaves blowing off the driveway. And
it's still just clean, neat, and tidy is what you want to shoot for, and it's going to make the best first impression when people walk in because it demonstrates a level of pride in home ownership and care. And when I walk up to a house and my first impression is peeling paint, crappy landscape, cracked driveway, my thought process is what's happening under the scenes that I can't see that has also been neglected.
That's a good point. That's a really good point.
So just keep it clean, neat, tidy, and have that impression so that people know that you take care of your home, and so that you've been on top of all of those maintenance things that they're going to be looking for on inspection.
Mm-hmm. That's a good point, which leads us into our weekly maintenance tip.
Our home maintenance tip.
So if you want a copy of our weekly home maintenance guide, so you need to know what you should be doing every week to make sure that your home is maintained and ready to be sold, you can text us free, the word free, FREE, to 77948. But this week's tip is maintaining your furnace. So you want to have a professional come out this time of year to service your furnace. Make sure your pilot lights are clean, all the connections are made. They're going to test the pilot system, clean the flame system, clean the burners, so that when we really get cold and you fire it up, that the heat's going to come out. It's more than just changing the filters.
And as a homeowner, sometimes we tend to skip over these things because I don't feel the need to pay somebody to look at my furnace if my furnace works. But if you're thinking about selling your home further down the line, it's like keeping those maintenance records on your car. When you go to sell it, people want to see that you were taking care of the maintenance along the way. When they come out to service, when a company comes out to service your furnace, they put a sticker on it, they label it, they date it. And when you go to sell your home, that's the first thing on home inspection that comes back. Almost every home inspection comes back with checkbox, have the furnace serviced and maintained as needed, because the sticker is out of date. So if you're thinking about selling, this is just one of those things to stay on top of. And our free download gives you that whole 12 months of activities to keep you ahead of the game for when you're ready to sell.
Yeah, and as Shanna mentioned earlier about saving energy, this will also help you save energy. So then you don't have to worry about saving the 22 cents of leaving the lights on for your showings, because you've saved energy along the way by keeping your furnace cleaned and maintained, and it's just running and operating more efficiently. So again, text free to 77948 for our home maintenance guide.
All right, we will see you next Tuesday. And before we go, we wanted to remind you our podcast is available on YouTube, iTunes, Stitcher, Spotify, and we would love for you to give it a like, a share, a review, a thumbs up, a smiley face, whatever they offer for you to do on those platforms. Just go do it for us.
Yes, we would greatly appreciate it. And feel free to put some comments in there if there's things you'd like us to talk about, you're curious about in the real estate world. We'd be happy to cover those on a future podcast, whether it's next week or in the coming week. So your feedback would be greatly appreciated.
And don't forget, text the word free to 77948 for your download of the home maintenance checklist.
Thank you so much for listening or watching, and we'll catch you next week.
See you next week.